Hi everyone, it's Kaya. Sometimes I feel like life is just a white sheet of paper that's been scribbled on 1,000 times. Not in a bad way. Every scribble is a story, a scar, or an experience you didn't ask for but got anyway. And like everyone else, I've got plenty of those scribbles. Some of them made me laugh. Some of them made me cry, and some of them just made me want to run away from myself for a while. The first time I realized I needed to change was when I noticed I was drifting away from me. It's like looking in the mirror and not recognizing the person staring back. Science actually backs this up. There is a part of your brain called the hippocampus that connects memory and emotions. If you ignore yourself for too long, that connection starts to fade. In plain words, you start to forget who you are. That day, I sat down and said to myself, let's start today, not tomorrow, not next week. I didn't have a crazy plan. I just promised to talk to myself for 5 minutes every day, not on my phone, not with anyone else, just me and me. Psychologists call this self talk, and research shows that people who do it feel more in control of their life after just a few weeks. At first, it felt ridiculous, standing in front of the mirror and talking to myself. But slowly, those 5 minutes become the place where I started finding myself again. Like when you are lost in the crowd and suddenly someone called your name. Hey, there you are, and you turn around and say, yeah, here I am. You see, personal growth doesn't start with big moves. You don't need to climb the Himalayas to meditate, and you don't have to change everything overnight. Science says macro habits, tiny daily change transform your life more than big, dramatic decisions because your brain adapts better to small changes. And over time, they become part of who you are. Today, when I think back to that moment, I realized my biggest change wasn't fixing everything. It was simply starting to listen myself. That's it. You know what's strange? We live with ourselves more than with anyone else. Yet sometimes we know the least about us. You could be with yourself for years and still not know what truly makes you happy or what you are deeply afraid of. And that self is you. One day, I went to a cafe and sat alone. No phone, no book, no laptop. Just the cafe and me. At first, my mind kept trying to escape. I thought about random things, unfinished tasks, unread messages, stuff that didn't even matter. But after 10 minutes of silence, I suddenly felt my real voice coming up, like an old friend showing up and saying, hey, remember me? Later, I found out this is what psychologists call mindfulness, being fully present in the moment. Research shows that even 10 minutes of focusing on the no significantly reduces stress because it lowers cortisol levels in your blood. In plain terms, your brain learns that it doesn't have to react to everything instantly. That day, I made a decision. I'd have a date with myself once a week. Not to plan, not to work, just to be. These little dates slowly helped me see where I was lying to myself, where I was truly happy, and where I was just acting. Honestly, these are things you can't find any self-helping book or motivational seminar because they are not things you just hear. They are things you have to feel, and once you feel them, you'll never be the same person again. Sometimes I think the biggest lessons in life don't come when we succeed, but when we fail. And honestly, one of the biggest failures of my life happened on an ordinary day. Nothing dramatic things, just didn't as planned. And suddenly, months of work fell apart right in front of me. At first, I felt like it was over. My head was full of thought like, you're not good enough for this. You should have never started. Everyone's laughing at you right now. But that night, lying in bed, I remembered reading an article that said our brain interprets failure as a survival threat. The same part of the brain, the amygdala, that activates when you are in danger also light up when you fail. That's why your heart races and your mind freezes. When I realized that, I told myself, okay, if my brain thinks this is a threat, I need to teach it that it's just an experience. I started rewriting the failure. Instead of saying I lost, I said I learned how not to do it. Psychologists call this cognitive reframing, changing the way you interpret events. And research shows that people who practice it become less afraid of failure over time and are more willing to take healthy risks. Now looking back, I see that the day I thought everything ended was actually the day a new chapter began. Failure isn't just the end of the past. Sometimes it's the only doorway to the right one. After every failure, there is a moment, maybe small but powerful, that changes everything for me. That moment came when a friend I hadn't spoken to in months sent me a simple message. I know you're not okay, but I know you. You'll get back up. You might think this is a just kind gesture, but the research shows that when you have social support, your body releases more oxytocin. That's the hormone that boosts feeling of safety and trust. It means even one person who truly believes in you can train your brain to take risk again and start fresh. That day, I realized I didn't have to fight alone. I started spending time with people who inspired me, not just people who would listen. Slowly, I was that these connections were like mirrors. They reflected that part of me I had forgotten. And honestly, rebuilding confidence starts with yourself. But keeping it, that depends on the people standing beside you. You can't start the journey alone, but to keep going, sometimes you need a we. When you rise from a big fall, at first, all you want is to be back where you were before it happened. But slowly you realize going back isn't enough because that before was the place where the wrong turn or the stillness began. So why would you want to return there? I learned this the morning I woke up and realized nothing from my old plan was left. At first, it was terrifying, like standing in the middle of the desert. No map, no sign. But then I realized that this maplessness meant freedom. It meant I could build everything from scratch, not to impress anyone, but to rebuild myself. Science backs this up. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth, the positive changes that happen after going through a crisis. Research shows that people who experience and work through major changing growth in five main areas: a deeper appreciation for life, stronger relationship, discovering inner strength, finding new meaning, and shifting priorities. For me, this growth began with a few hard questions. If I start over, what will I keep? and what will I let go? Answering this wasn't easy because it means being brutally honest with myself. And self honestly is the most painful but most necessary thing. I started writing for 10 minutes a day, not to share, not to make it pretty, just to see myself on paper. Those pages become the blueprint for my new path. And now, looking back, I see that empty desert that once scared me is now full of my footprints. The new path might never be easy, but it has one important difference. This time, I chose it. When you start walking the new path, everyone thinks it's all light, progress, and success from there. But the truth, sometimes it feels darker than before because now everything is your choice. And if you fail, you can say it was the circumstances or someone else caused it. This time, the weight of responsibility is fully on your shoulders. I still remember the day I took my first big step in my new path. From the outside, everything looked fine, but inside my head, there was voices whispering, "You're making a mistake. You're not ready. Maybe you should have waited." Those voices wouldn't stop until I realized the problem wasn't that the voices existed. The problem was that I had always tried to erase them. I read a psychology article that said our brain is designed for survival, not happiness. That means even when you are perfectly safe, your mind keeps scanning for threats. Because millions of years ago, if you missed the danger, you didn't survive. Those voices of doubt and fear are simply part of the brain's natural defense systems. You can't delete them, but you can learn to work with them. So, from that way, whenever fear or doubt showed up, I tell them, "All right, I know you are here, but now it's my turn." And strangely enough, when I stopped fighting fear and started accepting it, its power over me began to fade. I saw the same thing in my writing when I sat down and wrote about my fears. They seemed smaller on paper. In their place, a space opened up for new idea, for hope. Looking at my path now, I see that real growth isn't just about becoming brave and moving forward. Growth is learning to let fear and doubt travel with you without letting them drive. After all the twists and turns, the hard days and the lonely nights, I realized something that no one really tells you. Life isn't about being perfect. When you finally understand that, you don't have to have everything neat, tidy, or flawless to love yourself. That's when you truly feel free. I remember those days when my heart was broken and nothing seemed to go right. I kept forcing myself to be successful, to be right, to be perfect. But that effort was like walking on the tightrope that could snap any moment, sending me crashing down. Until one day, in the quiet and solitude, I asked myself, why do I have to be so hard on myself all the time? Why can't I just be okay as I am? That moment marked the beginning of real acceptance. Acceptance that meant not only embracing my mistakes and failures, but also my weaknesses and vulnerability. It wasn't easy, but it was peaceful. Like carrying a heavy load for years and finally feeling it slowly lift off your shoulders. When that shift happened in my mind, I realized I didn't have to plan everything or control every detail anymore. Life wasn't a checklist of must-dos, but moment-to-moment experience. And in that experience, when the dark days, the loneliness, and the doubt were part of the beauty of being. A recent study published in the respected psychology journal showed that people who learn to accept their true selves unconditionally experience less stress and greater life satisfaction because this acceptance creates a kind of mental flexibility that makes you resilient rather than chasing after perfection. So, if today you feel like you are not enough, take a deep breath, smile at yourself, and remember just being here as you are is already a miracle.